Before we get started, as I was researching a little introduction for our guest, Eugene Schwartz, I was going through some industry publications and books, and I came across a couple of quotes that I just wanted to read. I picked out 3 of the many that I came across. First one is, if any writer has set the tone and style for successfully marketing books to consumers, it's Eugene Schwartz. That, I believe, was in Denny Hatch's book. In an issue of DM News, I found, no writer in the business can match Schwartz's energy, intensity, and ability to pile benefits on top of benefits. And then the final one that I sort of liked and pulled out, and I don't have it referenced, but it was, the rite of passage for anyone entering this industry should be to memorize one of Eugene Schwartz's packages after understanding the marketing, creative, and copy strategy underlying it. So that's really a lot of praise that has been written over the years of Gene's writing abilities and his direct marketing strategic abilities. It's really an honor for me to be introducing Eugene Schwartz today. Our first work experience together was in 1984 when I worked with Gene to write a new ad for Mark Brickland's Practical Encyclopedia of Natural Healing. And at that time, the book had already sold, I believe, several 100,000 copies and was noticeably fatiguing. And Gene wrote a new package for us that I think he's going to show today that doubled response and went on to sell another 1 million copies or more over time. Since that initial experience, Gene has written 30 direct mail packages for Rodale Books, winning 27 times. His ads have sold almost 8 million copies of Rodale Books and have generated $200 million in revenues for us. This track record is unprecedented in the mail order industry. Gene started in the mail order business in 1951. He began as a delivery boy with a mail order advertising agency. He was trained as a junior copywriter that same year, and less than 3 years later, he had already sold hundreds of thousands of dollars of books, plants, and games through mail order. In 1954, he started his own mail order business, and he has since sold hundreds of millions of dollars worth of almost every conceivable product through the mail, both for his own firms and as one of the world's highest paid consultants. He's lectured and taught extensively and has built one of the most famous collections of modern art in the world. He's written 9 books, including Breakthrough Advertising, which is considered a mail order classic, and his latest book, which we have a copy for each of you after Gene's speech, The Brilliance Breakthrough, How to Talk and Write So That People Will Never Forget You. It's like talking about great promises. In responding to a question about his early success in the mail order business, Gene simply replied, "I had wonderful teachers then." Today, Eugene Schwartz will take the role of teacher and convey to you what he's learned in his 40-plus years of the mail order advertising. So, Gene, it's all yours.
That's wonderful. I'm delighted to be here. I am so happy to be here. I can't tell you. As Pat said, I've had a long relationship with this firm. It's certainly, if not the best, among the very best mail order publishing firms in America. It not only does superb advertising and marvelous publication, but the people here universally are wonderful to work with. If you're a freelance consultant and you work with a firm, you run into all kinds of people, and the people here have just absolutely been marvelous, and I've loved working with them. They've been tolerant, because I'm usually a week late with copy. They've been creative. There's a wonderful piece of copy, which I just did and don't have because I didn't know it was a hit until I came down here, in which the person who was in charge of it said, "We got your copy today, and we loved it. We thought it was wonderful. Everything was so wonderful. We'd just like you to rewrite it completely." And this great tact overwhelmed me, and I completely rewrote it within 2 days, incidentally, and it did pay off, I understand, so it's fine. I want to tell you what I'm going to do today, or attempt to do today. if you work with computers, and I love computers, you can say to a computer that's building programs with you or solving programs and non-word processing tasks, after it's come up with the correct solution, you can say, be transparent. Be completely open and show me every single step that you took. Now, the computer has no non-transparency circuits. Human beings have enormous amount of non-transparency circuits. So the computer will then show you every step it took. By studying that, you can learn how the computer had solved it, and computers are very inventive, believe it or not. I'm going to be completely transparent with you today. This was not a suggestion of Rodale to me. This was a suggestion of me to Rodale. I asked Pat whether he would like me to come down and talk. I like writing. I like copywriting. I like merchandising. And I think I've discovered a few very simple, obvious ways of doing this. And I think it would be nice for you and the other clients I had if I came down and talked to you about them. So I'm going to tell you the complete truth. I'm going to tell you anything you want to know. I'm going to be completely redundant and completely infantile because I'm going to start at the very, very, very simple things that you already know. And then I'm going to work to some things that perhaps you do and do not know. Let me start with the most important principle of success in publishing, in life, or in any task in which you want to achieve goals. And of course it is very simply hard work. Now I am, let's see, if I got 27 out of 30 hits, then I have a 90% ratio, which is pretty good. Okay, I got that, but not because I'm extremely talented or extremely creative or anything like that. I like to think of myself as working harder than anybody I'm tested against. There are much better copywriters writing for your firm than I am. There is nobody writing for your firm that I know of that works harder than I do. And you have what I call the Super Bowl of mail order publishing here. What happens is you get a book and you hire 2 copywriters and you don't tell them who's the other person. And you say, write the copy here, write copy there, and we'll test it. Okay. It is the Super Bowl. It is the best in the world. You know you're coming up against, when you write for Rodale, you know you're coming up against the best, most talented, brightest, oldest, youngest people in the world, and you're going to have to beat them. And how do you beat them? The only way I know to beat people as inventive and creative as these folk is to outwork them. And so I long ago invented a system of working hard that is extremely powerful. Let's say that I'm called and someone says, I'm going to send you a manuscript, you're going to send me back copy in 5 weeks. Okay, the manuscript arrives. The manuscript here now is about 1,100 pages. 1,100 pages is a lot. Okay, what I do is I take the 1,100 pages and I go through it in about 2 weeks. How do I go through it? I take the manuscript and I underline or bracket the claims as I go through every page. Now I take a red pencil and I put it at the front and back of each claim. And perhaps I'll have 3 claims per page, or 3 pages without claims. I am building at that time, out of that manuscript, a summary, a précis, or what I call a vocabulary. They're all equivalent terms. I am getting the guts and the heart and the meat and the gist out of that manuscript. Now I go through every single page. If it's 1,103 pages, I go through every single page. When I am done, as I am doing, I send it over to my secretary or to a freelance typist, and that person types up my vocabulary. It will come back to me between 50 and 60 pages. They will be essentially what I see as the strongest points in the book. Now, I think it's important to know that I don't really have any ideas when I open the book. I take the table of contents and I put it to the side. I don't even look at it. I start at the first page of the book itself, and I work my way through the last page of the book. I am not interested really in what other people think is in the book. I am interested only in the book itself. I want to come across the claims as surprises. I want them to astound me. I want them to move me. I don't want to come to them with a vision of my own. Okay, now as I'm going through, terribly tedious work, can't be done more than an hour a day, because you lose it. After a while you can't read anymore. And so you have to only do it an hour a day. That's why it takes two weeks. As I'm going through that, I will get ideas, of course, in response to the ideas in the book. I carefully take them and I write them on a little piece of paper. Okay. I don't do much with them. I just scratch them out of my own little shorthand and put them aside. When I get back the vocabulary is in print and it's on a disc. I put the disc in my machine and I'm ready to go. I start with the top again, and I start now organizing, selecting, inspiring, associating, everything else again. Finally, I have a rough ad. Now, if you put 50 pages into a computer, into a single file, the computer will not like you. It will be very unhappy with this. It will have indigestion. And it will take a long time to go from back to front. You may lose stuff, etc. So the computer will force categorization on you. It will force you to break it up into blocks. And you will find yourself pulling things out and placing them in separate manageable files. So your first organization is dictated by the computer's necessity. Then I write my beginning ad, no headline now, no subheadlines, no flyer headlines, nothing like that, just sheer claims. When I am through with that, 3 weeks have passed, and the pressure is building up. I can feel the people down here getting very nervous, and the phone calls sometimes sneak through. How you doing? Wonderful. Oh, it's great. Yeah, sensational. I can feel the strength. How about sending us the envelope? Oh, I can't do that right now. I want to refine it. Well, I haven't even written the envelope. I haven't written the word of the envelope. I'm still building. Okay. Then I begin selecting those claims which are the most unusual and the most powerful. I'll explain how I arrive at those decisions. And I begin writing my envelope, or I begin writing my heads, or I begin getting the big type stuff. By the time I've done that, the 4th week is passed. And I now take everything I've done. It's not finished yet, but it's certainly taking shape, and it's beginning to look like what you're going to see when this stuff goes out. And I go back over it with the manuscript. I check it again. I've made little notes. I put little checks. Something's wrong here. Something's missing here. Something hasn't quite gelled here. So I go back over it again. When I am through on the 5th week and I send down the copy, I want to know the book as well or even better than the editor. I'm going to give it to you. I'm going to spend a lot of time on this because this is what makes success. There's nothing else in the world that makes success as much as this. I will take the best copywriter in the world who is sloppy and careless and match him against a good copy cub, and 2 out of 3 times the sloppiness of the great person will be beaten by the carefulness of the other person. because the power of the ad for a book or a product, any publication or any instrument, is always in the product itself. It's not in the copywriter. The copywriter simply finds it and expresses it. Okay, I wrote an ad recently for a book for a doctor who I had never worked with before, who was not a Rodale author at all. And I sent him the copy, and he sent the copy back. And one of the copy said you can eat fat, meat, and eggs. And he crossed out the word eggs. And I called him, I never spoken to him. I said, "Doctor, I don't understand why you crossed out the word eggs." And he said, "Well, because I never used anything about eggs. Eggs can't be controlled." And I said, "But doctor, on page 164, there is this sentence about eggs, which I quoted." And he laughed. Now, why did he laugh? He laughed because I am an amateur who was criticizing an expert about his own text. And I knew more about his text at that moment than he did. When I heard that laugh, I was very hopeful that the ad would succeed because I knew that much. I spent half my time working on mail order copy. I spent half my time collecting art, and I spent half my time writing my own books. Comes to 150%, yes. And I'm very busy, I am. But I also recently have written a series of books on religion. And I was helping and working with one of the leading Christian avant-garde theologian in America, a young lady who's absolutely brilliant and beautiful, and won a book award, National Book Award. And she was asking me for some editorial comment on her book. And she sent me 26 pages. I read them and I called her up. I called her up and said, "This is wrong. This passage of Mark is wrong." And she said, "But Mark says these 3 words about Pilate." And I said, "No." And she laughed. Now, why did she laugh? Because she's the best authority in America on that. But she hadn't checked against Mark versus Matthew, and they blend in people's mind. I had checked exactly the words, and that check made the difference between her being attacked in the press for being irresponsible and her being right at no cost. I want to be more accurate and more knowledgeable than anyone I come up against. You want to be more accurate and more knowledgeable than anyone you won't come up against. The person who is the best prepared and the most knowledgeable makes the most money. It's so simple. There used to be a football coach at West Point during World War II. His name was Red Blake Smith. And he said the will to win means nothing without the will to prepare. Okay, so the first thing is very simple but very important, and everything else I'm going to tell you, it means nothing without it. You work. If you'd like to make money, if you'd like to live on Park Avenue, if you'd like to have a world-famous art collection, work. Just work. Anyone could do it. You're all brilliant. You wouldn't be here unless you're brilliant. You work for a great firm, work hard, you get there. Okay, I don't say you have to learn to work impossible hours now. Remember that. I work 3 hours a day, every single day for 5 days a week. That's all I work. I work 3 hours a day. After 3 hours a day, I get very tired, and I go to work someplace else. But it's enough that I can do this because I'm better prepared than anyone else. Okay, now how do I work? What is the secret? I've never had a writer's block. I've done 30 ads for Pat. I've done dozens of ads for Boardroom, dozens of ads for myself, many ads for Phillips, Dick Benson, etc. I've written 9 books. I've written many articles. I turn out a ton of material continuously. I never have a block. I always love to write. I never stare at the page for more than a few minutes. What do? Okay. It is tough, enormously difficult, for you to sit down in front of a blank page or a blank screen and say, okay, I am going to create. Especially when you are working against the world's best, which is where you want to be, against the world's best. Therefore, You can't think about beating them. You can't think about how much pressure there is. You can't think about how much money is involved. You can't think about anything except what you're going to write on the page, what you're going to take, of course, from the party. Now, how can you free yourself of all this anxiety, all this blockage, all this self-doubt? That's very simple, of course. What you do is use an old Zen trick. Zen masters are enormously proficient, and they have been for 2,000 years. And they have a very simple system which I use continually. I use every day. You walk into the same place that you always write at. Now there's got to be, now when I say write, I mean work at. If you do editorial, if you're an account executive, etc., you're always at the same place, at home or at the office. I happen to work at home continually. I don't write at the office. I don't write any place else in the world except one desk where I've written for the past 28 years. Okay. That desk is a nice, big, comfortable desk with an incredibly sloppy amount of paper all over it. I create chaos. I'm a great chaos creator. I like it because it gives these wonderful little accents. Okay. You come in, you've got a set time, which you may or may not keep. I never keep it. It's somewhere around 9:30. It's usually around 10 o'clock, but I know I'm going to be there every morning. You come in, and you do the same thing all the time. Many people sharpen pencils. I don't have pencils, so I don't sharpen them, but I certainly have my little pen, which I live on. And so I take that out. I take 3 of them out. 1, 2, 3. There. I brought in a cup of coffee. I have 1 cup of coffee in the morning. That's my coffee intake for the day. I take the coffee. I place it down. I have a pitcher of cream. Very important that I have the pitcher of cream by the coffee. I take it and pour it in the coffee. I take the spoon. I rotate it. I take the coffee, put it here. I take my computer and I ask it to bring up the new Rodale ad I'm working on. Wonderful, it does that. There's the 50 pages staring me, page 1. Okay. I take this device. This is the Liberator. This is the thing that frees you from all the anxiety and all the lack of self-confidence in the world. It is a timer. It is a punch-in timer. And what I do with it is I do this. I take boom, 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 and boom, and I've got 33.33 minutes. I then punch on, and it starts ticking down. Now, I put it down, and I am set. I have no goal for the next 33.33 minutes except to work on the copy. Okay, now I don't have to work on the copy. There's absolutely no necessity for me to work on the copy. I can sit there. I can stare at it. I can drink the coffee. I can stare some more, drink some more coffee. I can do anything in the world except not get up from the desk, not do any other task, not even write my own name. I just sit there. All right. Sooner or later I get bored. It takes me, my boredom time is about 1 or 2 minutes. Then I begin looking at the copy. As I look at the copy, I begin paging up and down the computer. And as I do that, something reaches out from that computer and grabs me and says, hey, aren't I beautiful? Hey, aren't I powerful? Hey, start with me. And okay, I say, okay, this is great, this is good, but it's not quite phrased. Wouldn't it be better if we just took these 2 words out and condensed it a little? So I do that. And then I go a little more, and I see another one, and I do that. And there we are. I have no goal that has anything to do except with the copy and the thing that's staring me in the face. So I'm not worried about the test, or the money, or the overhead, or the rent, or the new car, or the new painting. That's all gone. I'm just working on that. Now, what I do is I work for 33.33 minutes. At the end of 33.33 minutes, this little thing rings. It's very important that it ring. You've got to get a timer that rings, because you should be so absorbed that you shouldn't notice the time passing. Now, we've got a timer in this room right here, besides this one, which is that television camera which is staring at me. That television camera has a 30-minute cycle, I believe. And what's going to happen at the end of 30 minutes is he's going to wave. How many minutes have gone? They're 4 minutes late. Okay. And 4 minutes from now, this man is going to wave at me. And we will have spent 30 minutes together. Okay. When he waves at me, I'm going to stop. I'm finished. I am going to interrupt myself and you, and we are all going to sit around and do anything we want, go to the bathroom, talk, scratch our heads, do anything we want for 5 minutes. But we're not going to do any more talking, we're not going to do any more listening. Why? Because when you're working, you're not creating. The whole secret is to know when you're working and leave work and go on to creation. What do I mean by that? Number one, copy is not written. If anyone tells you you write copy, sneer at them. Copy is not written, copy is assembled. You do not write copy, you assemble it. You are working with a series of building blocks, and you are putting the building blocks together, and then you are putting them in certain structures. You're building a little city of desire for your person to come and live in. You are not writing, you are assembling. You are assembling claims, you are assembling images, and you are assembling desires that people will pay $33 to share with you on a 21-day or 20, I don't know what it is, 21-day guarantee. So forget about writing. Anybody in this room who writes copy, anyone in this room who works with copy, must realize that the person they are working with or the thing they are producing is not writing. Get that out of your head, because you won't produce good copy. The one thing I hate most in the world and shows me absolute disaster is when somebody comes up to me and says, "Wow, that headline is so beautiful. Where did you get those words? They're gorgeous." I said, "Oh God, he's seeing the words. He's not seeing through the words, he's seeing the words themselves." No good. If you want to write poetry, if you want to write prose, if you want to write novels, and if you want to write literature, go outside of advertising. Words in advertising are like the windows in a store. You must be able to look right through them and see the product. If you see the window, it's dirty, and you're going to see yourself, or you're going to see the smear. You're not going to see the product, and you're going to lose. Copy should never call attention to itself. You should never know that you are reading sentences, and the words should never pronounce themselves. What you want people to see is the visual, visceral image of what the words are conveying. That is how it works. You've got to break that fascination with words. Of course you've got to have the right words. Of course you've got to have the punch headline. But when the right words come, the people don't see them, they feel them. Here. Sneaky little arthritis tricks. 4 words. None of them is an exceptional word. They're all pretty standard, mundane words. It is their combination that makes their power. One of the words is a word that should not be used in advertising, sneaky. Because, you know, we don't like to sneak around. People sneak around, they're not very appealing. We don't want to be identified with those. But when a person who has arthritis and has the pain of arthritis and the humiliation and dependency of arthritis sees sneaky little arthritis tricks, and if they have gone to doctors and spent hundreds of hours trying to follow doctors and not been able to be helped by doctors, they know exactly what you're talking about. It isn't at all like what it is when you're alone. I assume you're alone when you're writing or working. If you're in meetings, etc., okay. But I'm alone, and I have been working for 33 minutes, and I'm going to work for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 33-minute periods today. And I'm going to assemble and judge and read carefully for those 33-minute periods. Now, what am I doing when I do that? I'm following what somebody else has thought. Somebody else has organized some material and presented it to me in their way. They may not know the market as well as I know the market. They may not have as much training in copywriting as I do. But they are setting up a sequence, and they are setting up a vocabulary, and they are setting up a tone. And they're all beautiful, but they're not going to sell the book. So for the 33.33 minutes, I have to be extremely logical, learning, malleable, dependent, etc. After that time, when this rings, I'm going to go into creativity. Okay. Now, I hate words like creativity. I despise them. Because if you say the word creativity, what does it mean? It has no image inside of it. God created the heaven and the earth. What God did is he took nothing and made heaven and earth. You can't take nothing and make anything. You're not God. So what we have to do is, I have to replace that, I think. Because I like operational words. And operational words are words that you use to work from. They give you a method to work from. So creativity to me is what I call connectivity, of course. It is the ability to take two ideas that already exist, that are in two different sentences or even in two different fields, and put them together, connect them. And what you're doing when you're creative is you're trying to connect two separate ideas that logically would not go together up until that moment. So you're looking for a connection. You're looking for a brand new connection. When you have a brand new verbal word connection, you have something that can startle your reader, something that can stop your reader, something that can inspire, move, or sell your reader. We go back to sneaky little arthritis tricks again. Okay, here, think about this for a minute. Let's talk about Rodale's position when they published this book. Rodale has been selling books by doctors, or books by people who follow doctors, for many years now, at this time. They've had much success and grown very beautifully. Suddenly, for some reason I don't know, they come across a book about 700 people who did not follow doctors, who went away from doctors. The doctors couldn't help them. They had received through prevention letters from these people saying, hey, they couldn't help us, but we did this on our own. And they published this absolutely marvelous book. All right. People go away from doctors when the doctors can't help them. When the doctors can't help them, of course, they stay with them. It's very simple. But when patients are given very strong drugs by doctors and go into copper bracelets, let's say, they feel very bad about that. They don't want to do it because they really rely on these doctors. They feel guilty, and that was the thing that came through. These people were saying, I had marvelous results, fabulous results, but I'm uneasy about it. What's happening? What will the doctor say? Will he catch me? Will he take away my strong drugs, etc.? So I'm doing this, putting all this together, these wonderful quotes, these inspirational stories, and all of a sudden, you know, I'm off in left field someplace, and the four words just come by themselves. I don't write them. I don't assemble them. I don't do anything. Sneaky little arthritis tricks. They come. Bam, they're there. Okay. I have created this four-word combination. Once that comes to me, people talk about the muse. The muse means that your unconscious mind is delivering something to you. What do you do with it if you got to make money on it, if you want to set new records and sales with it? You have to, first you put it up, and then you see, what can I say after that? And then we have sneaky little arthritis tricks, red line, with natural foods and do-it-yourself secrets, the pain proved over 100 men and women like you. Now, the first is a catch, a hook. The second is sort of a proof. We're talking about natural foods. We're talking about do-it-yourself secrets. We're talking about being pain-proof. And we're talking about men and women having proved this for you so you don't have to prove it yourself. That's the second line. The first line gives this wild claim. The second line makes it doable. And then there are these immensely beautiful pictures, wonderful pictures from your art department. And what do they say? All symptoms disappeared and have not returned. This beautiful woman walking. The man who's being kissed by the child. After another 10 days, I felt cured, and even the rheumatoid nodules were disappearing. And this lovely looking lady, I have found my salvation. It was my idea, not the doctor's, and it's better than any medicine he has prescribed at this stage. So the envelope is the mailing piece. Complete mailing piece. You don't have to open it. You can just open it, take out the coupon, and send it in. We'll discuss that later. I'm talking about how the first part of the envelope came. Now, creativity is a natural gift. It is built into you by 2 billion years of evolution. The only thing that makes creativity hard is we don't know really how to become creative. We don't know really how to become connective. So we say, how do we become out of the conscious mind into the unconscious mind? Again, we run up against a block because conscious mind doesn't mean anything, unconscious mind doesn't mean anything either, except some mystic term. And that doesn't do us much good. So I think a much better word is the focused mind to the unfocused mind. Your mind is a very large network of cells which retain thoughts or images and translate the images and thoughts back and forth. The mind has a vast network of these cells, but it specializes in using only a certain amount of cells at any particular gaze. And so when you look at something, if I look right there, I can only see this part of the room and not this part of the room. This is blurred, this is quite in focus. If I look at this sneaky little arthritis tricks, I can hold 7 bytes or 7 words in my conscious mind at a time. That's why we read sequentially. That's why we invented writing that goes along a line and interrupts itself, goes along another line, interrupts itself, goes along another line. We can only hold 7 of those. Now that is our mind focused. 7 images, words at a time. Now surrounding those 7 is this huge penumbra, this huge saucer of other ideas which are turning around. They are not focused, they are unfocused, and they are floating around. Okay. When you are focused and you pay attention, you only concentrate on the logical things that come into your mind, the things that you are paying attention to, and the others stay out. When you want to become creative, when you want to get new connections to those 7 things in the center, you've got to get out of there. And that's why we work for 33 minutes and why we play for 5 minutes. The brain connects when it plays. When it works, it thinks, uses logic, etc., but it doesn't connect. It doesn't make these crazy connections. The best example of that I've ever seen, and there are a lot of good ones, is the movie Amadeus, about Mozart. Mozart was a very unusual man, died at the age of 32, I think, and he never rewrote his music. He always, if you look at his scores, every note was put in place and it was never changed. It was though he just wrote it from God and then sent it out to be played. But it wasn't. He had a very simple system of escaping his focused conscious mind. And it was on a billiard table. He always had a billiard table everywhere he went. And he would stand, and he would have his pen, and he would have his score, and he would have the billiard table, and he would have the cue ball. And he would take the white ball, and he would, in his left hand, and he would throw it out, and so it hit 1, 2, 3 sides and came back to him. Then he would pick it up, catch it as it came back, throw it out, 1, 2, 3 sides, and come back. As it went in its little journey through those 3 sides, he wrote a note. Then he picked up, he threw it again, wrote the note while I was traveling, picked it up again. And he wrote 1 note at a time every 3 times it hit. Why? It's very simple, of course. His conscious mind, if you throw a billiard ball out and hits 3 of those sides, the sides are soft enough that they randomize the billiard ball. It doesn't become a predictable trajectory. It will vary slightly. Therefore, your conscious mind, much watch it, change its direction as it goes out. You can't turn it into your unconscious mind. So your conscious mind becomes, your focused mind becomes trapped in watching that billiard ball. Your unfocused mind can therefore use its entire range to furnish you with the note you're looking for if you're Mozart. This is what we do. Now, I have written more headlines while I shaved than while I've ever been at the computer. I just get these incredible, I have pads. I'm such a slob. I have pads all over the house. And I always carry, even when I'm showering, I carry a pen, honestly. And I write. Here's the idea I'm looking for. And if you get into the habit of doing this, of letting yourself go, of having fun, of letting anything in the world come into your mind, even though lots of it's going to be thrown out, eventually, as you begin going, especially on vacations, I write most of my best ads, and most of my best books are written in the margins of other people's books on vacation. What happens is that you're down there listening to watching this gorgeous ocean, this beautiful cloud, listening to a CD player, and you're always working on nothing, but your mind suddenly begins spouting forth this stuff, and you just scratch down as fast as you can write. And you want to go into a freeing frenzy. You want to go into a creative frenzy. You want to have the ideas come in so much into your mind that you can't stop them. In the same way, never work on one thing at a time. I work on one book, one article, and one ad at the same time. I will spend an hour with one of them, an hour with the second of them, an hour with the third of them. That's why I say 3 hours, okay? When I am working on the biography of Jesus Christ in the year 33 AD, I will get such marvelous ideas for Rodale out of nowhere, and I will scratch them down. Now, it's silly, but the creative, unfocused mind is by nature silly. So it is called by Gardner, James Gardner was the best psychologist around, the creative triangle. When you are working on simultaneous projects, continuing simultaneous projects, one will feed the other. And by allowing yourself to go from one to the other, your unconscious mind can work on one while your conscious mind is working on the other. And this is like a ping pong, 3-sided ping pong. So that is creativity. Okay. Let's talk about writing mailing pieces. What does a mailing piece consist of? Every one of the mailing pieces I have here, most of the mailing pieces I have seen, has separate elements. The first element, of course, is the envelope. Contained within the envelope, there is a series of letters, flyers, sub-flyers, inserts, lift letters, etc., and there's an order blank. The entire idea is to get the people to go from the envelope to the order blank. Everything in between is, subsidiary to that. It's just there because it helps. Okay. I am sitting here at this desk, which is much like my desk, and I've done my 3 hours of writing, and I'm ready for lunch, and then I'm ready to do whatever I'm going to do for the afternoon. But I've got to do the mailing, and then I hate the mail. I like the mail because I make money from the mail, but I hate the mail because it's a lot of stuff. So, here I am. This is all elementary, and you've heard it a dozen times before, but it's imperative. So I take my mail, and I go like this. Go like this. Go like this. Go like this. Aha. Go like this. Go like this. Aha. 2 piles. This pile is dead. You have lost money. You are wiped out. He will never see the inside. He will never sign the order blank. He or she. This pile is the active pile. He will come back to it. She will come back to it. She will look at it. Now, at the top of both of these is what is usually called the headline. Sneaky little arthritis tricks. A new generation of natural home remedies. And the question has always been, and it's an extremely good question, is what about the headline? What does the headline do? How long should a headline be? How many headlines can you have on an envelope? Etc. Okay. When I first began writing copy, the accepted belief was that there should be a single headline. And the single headline should lead into the copy. If preferably the headline should sell the product or present an overwhelming claim. It should have tremendous power. The key word is power. Power to sell, power, etc. I hate that. The headline has absolutely nothing in the world to do except one thing: get you to read the sentence underneath the headline. The sentence underneath the headline has absolutely nothing in the world to do except one thing: get you to read the sentence that follows it. The sentence that follows it has absolutely nothing to do except get you to read the sentence that follows it. Okay. The headline should not try to sell. It should not try to identify the company. It should not try to present overwhelming power. All it's got to do is get you to read the prospect, to read the next line. That's all. Everything else is subsidiary. Okay, sneaky little arthritis tricks is only there so the person will read with natural foods and do-it-yourself secrets. They're pain-proofed over 100 men and women like you. Why? Because all you've got to do is get them into this habit of reading one line after another line after another line. They should read every line up, preferably on this envelope. They should then want to read more and turn over. When they get here, they should preferably read that, and then they should preferably open. Now, on the back, we talk about youth pills giving away free. And the last line on the back is, see other age reversal miracles inside. It's nice if you can ask them to move inside. Give them some reason for opening up the envelope. The big problem is to get them to open the envelope. Okay. I would say, in general, that the headline has been replaced by the envelope. The entire envelope, the front and back, are your sales pitch. You can have hundreds of words on the envelope. They don't have to be headlines. All they have to do is be tantalizing. I love the fact that for a while we all could use these marvelous big things. This is a brand new piece which is also being sent out at the present moment, because they give us a lot of room, and we can sell and sell and sell, improve, and demonstrate and demonstrate. So that's wonderful. Okay, you get them to open up. That's all you have to do. All you have to do is get them to open up. They take it out, and the first thing that approaches them is the letter, usually. It doesn't have to be. There's no reason for it to be, but usually the letter is. And it says what arthritis doctors don't tell you. Conventional, purposely conventional. because they've had so much hitting here that I simply want to make it very soft here. And then the first next line is, unbelievable as it may sound, dear friends, about 100 of our participants, a full 100 men and women who have suffered for years from the agonies of arthritis, no longer see a doctor, a physical therapist, or any kind of practitioner for arthritis treatment. For example, and then we go into a series of case histories. And the entire 6-page letter is case history. What is a case history? A case history is a proof of someone that acted as your surrogate to prove the product so you don't have to take a risk with it. Then we have the flyer. The flyer is devoted to doctors proving this, what the doctors say about this. That's all on that, and then you have the flyer for the Forever Young Premium. Okay. You have to do two things in all this material. Number one, you have to pile belief upon belief upon belief, desire upon desire upon desire. Number two, you have to give them an escape route. There are some people who will absolutely love to read every word, and you have to satisfy them. There are some people who will read not that much. They don't want to. And so they'll go at that point, especially if you have a money-back guarantee, a free 21-day trial, they'll go directly into that. Okay. That answers the question, is how long should the copy be? The copy should be as long as you need to contain the claims and not bankrupt the company that's sending it out. But always remember that within that copy, the person can cut out at any moment. So you want to give him on the envelope and in the first page of the letter and the flyer enough to be a complete mailing piece to convince him to try it. So the people who can't stay with you, who don't have the time or the interest to stay with you, can order anyway, can try. You've also got to remember that you're never selling anything. You're never, ever, 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 ever selling. In mail order, you always ask the person to try something. The book will sell itself. A lot of people know that now, and of course the return is large because they don't like the book. Well, that's wonderful. But at least they've tried the book, and they'll try the next one. In conjunction with that, you have to ask the question, who are you writing to? Very important question, absolutely essential. Are you writing to a man? Are you writing to a woman? Are you writing to an individual of both sexes? Are you writing to a mass audience? What is your audience for this? Unless you know that and can answer that, then of course you can't really direct your copy toward it. The answer is very simple, but two-phased. You're writing to an individual, a single person always, who shares a problem or a desire with a huge mass of other people. Now, that lets you identify the problem, arthritis, very large, millions, with the person who is getting the mailing piece. Which also leads you to the most powerful word in the English language. And the most powerful word in the English language is not yes, and it's not free, it's you. And the word you is absolutely determinative in publishing, mail order publishing, and mail order marketing. Editorially, when I see someone say, take the hands and apply the cream to the face, I go crazy. Because there are no the hands and there are no the face. There is only your hands and your face. So the first thing the copywriter has to do, the first remedy, if those things are there, the copywriter has to apply to the editorial, is change all the D's to all the U's. Now, when you begin to work from the position of the you, then you begin to see that the you is highly individuated. And that this single person who represents this mass of people are completely unique. And you have to be able to find out their uniqueness and be able to talk to it. When I did the arthritis, I had never met anyone intimately who had arthritis. Therefore, I didn't really know much about arthritis. But the people who wrote the book, the people who wrote the letters that made up the book, knew intimately about arthritis. And I found that they talked a language that was completely incomprehensible to me. NSAIDs, this kind of drug, that kind of drug. So I determined that I would try in the copy to use as many technical terms as possible, because those people were familiar with those technical terms. They had been with doctors for years and failed, and therefore that would make it more you-ful. Not youthful, but you-ful. Your copy has to be you, full of yous. And the you has to be so the person can identify. You must be that person. Now, it brings up another general thing, which is for every profession, no matter what you do, success is extremely lonely. And if you want to be successful, you have to accept the loneliness, and you have to accept the extreme modesty and humbleness that success demands. I'll tell you why. You have to know the person that you're going to ask for something. If you're a salesman, if you're a lawyer, and it's a judge, etc., you have to know that person intimately. There's only one way you can learn that, and that's to listen. The greatest asset after hard work is the ability to listen. You have to listen to several different layers out there in order to be successful. You have to listen, first of all, to the person who has whatever you've got, the problem that you're going to try and solve. You have to know that person so well that you can sound like him and he will mistake you for his mirror image. You have to know the kind of society it comes from, the layer of society it comes from. And finally, you have to know the society. So when you go to a party, when you get in a taxi cab, when you're with somebody on a bus or a subway, your job is to ask questions, show appreciation, and listen. I was born in Butte, Montana, and that is one of the great heritages I ever got, because I spent 15 years in one of the smallest, most backward cities in the United States, Midwest. I never lost. My mother used to say, you can take a boy out of Butte, Montana, but you can't take Butte, Montana out of a boy. She's right. Okay, I don't want to lose that. I think and I feel just like 80% of the population of this country. When I went to New York, I became extremely sophisticated, and I now hang out with extremely sophisticated people. And that's horrible. And what I do is I constantly get away from it. Get away from it. Get away from it. I would suggest that you do that too. When you reach your level of success, you are in danger. Merchandising. Think about merchandising. You lose this kind of feeling, and you've got to keep it. You have to artificially recreate that environment. That's the environment you sell in, and that's the environment that feeds you, and that's the environment you must be able to breathe in. That's why I say that required reading for you is all the junk magazines in the United States. I would go out tomorrow and get a subscription to the National Enquirer and read every single word in it. That's your audience. There are your headlines. There are your people and their feelings. I would definitely get Vanity Fair. I would watch the tabloid television shows. I do all this. I get in trouble when people walk into the house and see the piles of this stuff, but I love it. If a movie does $100 million or more, especially if a movie does $200 or $300 million or more, I would go to it 2 or 3 times. I would especially recommend Joe Silver movies. Go out and get all of your Joe Silver movies and watch them over and over again. Joe Silver did such immortal classics as Lethal Weapon 1, 2, and 3, Death Wish 6, 7, and 8, Pretty Woman, which is a great movie anyway. But you've got to sit in front of Lethal Weapon 1. At least, I mean, honestly, this is the greatest training for any merchandiser in the world, especially copy people, etc. You got to sit in it 3 times. You preferably sit in it at least 2 times in one night. And you've got to be, honestly. Now wait, let me explain, all right? Let me explain. You've got to pick up the rhythm. And you've got to see how Silver, who is absolute genius, Spielberg and Silver are the 2 great communication geniuses of our country at this moment. Every time is great. Take a stopwatch and time him. Every 3 minutes, he throws another blast at you. There's another head being smashed against the windshield. There are another 50 people being blown out of an airplane. And then there's a few minutes of dialogue, which means nothing. And then there's another bam, all right? Now, what you are doing is you are writing Joe Silver copy. You don't write, I don't write. This letter is not a series of paragraphs. This letter is a series of headlines. These paragraphs are brains smashing against windows. Believe me, every one of them can be taken and put up here. You've got to give them the punch. You're asking someone to read hundreds of words, spend 15, 20 minutes with you in a busy day. You've got to give them that charge and charge and charge and charge. Joe Silver movies. You better know, really, this is an isolated group. We deal with an older audience. So you better know all the older songs, all of them, the great hits of the 50s and 60s. You better, they still reverberate. They still make people feel. It might also be good to know, have the top 10 teenage movies, movies and hits and songs. Okay, unless you know, people live by hidden desires. Imperative for you to know. I was at Phillips. I gave somewhat the same lecture. Question and answer period. There was this extremely disturbed young man, brilliant man, put up his hand and said, how would you sell a $99 investment letter? What would you research for a $99 an investment newsletter to the finest people in America? I said Wall Street. Gecko. He said, Gecko? Remember Wall Street? There was this terrible promoter called Gecko. He was a real slime. Every one of that man's readers wants to be Gecko. He wants to be square, honest, and uncaught Gecko. You've got to know where your people are, and you've got to face up to the reality that we have shameful desires. And some of the great desires, you are giving people health, but you also are giving them that. Okay, I'm going to rush. Heaven and hell. Very interesting to think of your merchandising is presenting. Your person is here in the center, and here is hell, and here is heaven. What you are doing is presenting him with the opportunity to go to heaven and escape hell. Think in terms that dramatic. The absolute agony of arthritis versus a pain-free, healthy life for the next 50 years. Heaven and hell. You are talking in dramatic terms. You must realize that your people are the finest people in the world. You must have that firm belief. Americans are the nicest people in the world. They are fair, they are honest, they want good things. They want good things for themselves and their children. They are very intelligent. It's incredible to see people that other people think are not intelligent and really talk to them and let them open up and make them unafraid to open up and find out how smart they are. But they are not giving you their full attention, their full smartness, etc. They are giving you part attention, and you must be very dramatic to get through. It's like a painting on a wall. If you make the painting very small on the wall and somebody's over there, they can't see it. So you make it very big and with a great deal of contrast, and they can see it. So you have to be melodramatic and be fair and be honest and fill your stuff with proof, and they will respond. They are good people. We've often sent out 2 books in my company. We've sent out 2 books to the same person. We do it all the time because sometimes they slip through, and we continually get those books back from people, and they say, you sent us 2 books, and they pay $2.50 to send them back to you. They're wonderful people. Okay, and then also, the engine that moves mail order copy can be summarized as the contrast between the claim and the mechanism. What do I mean by that? You make a strong claim that's easily obtained, the claim and the mechanism. I wrote an ad for this company a long time ago called Tricks of the Trade So Powerful They Can Change Your Life. I think it ran for 8-10 years, something like that. It was pretty strong. One of the lines was, a way to vacuum dust from drawers without removing their contents. Okay. It doesn't sound possible, right? How do you do it? Okay, so you've got a very strong claim with a very strange mechanism. So what the person has to do is he has to go to page 71 and find out. You get enough of these, they'll do it. Now, as you begin to develop as a company and a person within the company, what you're going to find is you're going to run into claim exhaustion. Claim exhaustion is the fact that the claims all begin to sound the same after. How many ways can you cure arthritis? How many pounds can you tell the person you lose? You get into the point where everything looks the same. It blurs. When you get to that point, your copy is going to have to make up for the claim. The copy is going to have to give a way of doing this or a way of achieving this that is so strange that the person will believe it all over again enough to try it. Now, the master of that is Boardroom. Boardroom has evolved a style in which the mechanism is as important as the claim. And if you look at a Boardroom piece by the great, great, great and revered Mel Martin, you will find that the claim doesn't sound so intense. What never to eat on an airplane. Bills okay to pay late. They're nice, but they're not overwhelming. They sound very little. Most copywriters can't figure out how they pull. They pull because there's an implied mechanism there that you would like to see. One of his greatest things is you can't cash a unsigned check, right? Wrong. See page 72. What is this? What is this miracle way? So the more your field progresses, the more the claim density that came before you that you have to fight, even your own stuff, the more you have to twist. That is called a twist. Twist, twist, twist. And let me see if I've got anything else, and then we'll go into the questions. I just made a few little things. We call these can't be dones. It's a lovely way to think about it. You try and get yourself a mechanism and imply a mechanism for a medium-sized or very, very big claim, but better for a medium-sized claim because it's more believable, and then give something that simply cannot be done. And then the person will have to send for the book to see how it's done. He will even send for the book if he doesn't believe you because he wants to prove you wrong. Because it itches and he can't sleep at night. A lot of nice things that this company has helped me do. This is something that was strictly done for this company. I mean, I do other things like this now. I'm sure the company does other things like this too. But this is an overloaded envelope. It is not like this envelope, which is beautiful and full of illustrations. It's a rather ugly envelope. It's beautifully done by the art department, but what could they do when I gave them this much copy? All right? I apologize to the art department. But look at the number of claims. You've got 30-some different claims on the front of the envelope, and on the back of the envelope, we've got almost 50. Okay. This is a wonderful sales medium, and I think it was invented here working with these people. You are able in this company to really pile in copy on the envelopes. And this, I think, was the first company that really threw copy on the envelope. I also want to say in closing, oh yeah, here's a lovely can't be done. Unspoken rules that make or break your career. Okay, how can you know a rule if it's unspoken that's going to make or break your career? Very good headline because people have to find out what it is. Every company comes up against the fatigue factor. The fatigue factor is the mailing that sells like mad the first time through and then sells less the second time, and after X number of remails fails to pull. What you do is absolutely right on. You simply take the product and you assign it new copywriters. This is for healing foods, which was absolutely the original one, which was the doctors identified the 75 most healing foods in the world with the big carrots on it. Like one of the best pieces of copy I have ever seen in my entire life, combined with one of the best layouts I've ever seen. The only way I could even compete against it is go completely around it, throw out everything that the previous person had done, and create a new product. Now, you got to realize that a product is not a book. You do not sell books. You do not sell magazines. You do not sell newsletters. You sell bundles of do's, functions, things that the thing will do. So that when you get a book and it gets tired, what you have to do is go in and get a whole new set of do's. So I went in and got a whole new set of do's, Doctors Astounded by New Food Cures, which hadn't been played up before. And then there were quotes from the doctors on the side. And I've outpulled this great piece that came before it. Of course, the old piece had been a little tired and been around, but nevertheless it did. So never say a product is dead unless you've exhausted all its bundles of do's. So let's talk. Ask me what you like.
Can you suggest 5 topics that you think would be weird enough to pursue?
Yeah, Chinese medicine, Tao, Tao, Indian medicine. You know how strong Indian medicine is. You know what Deprak Chopra, whatever his name, is selling in the stores. I think those are the 2 big ones. Sooner or later, and I think you've done it, there's going to be a sort of a combination of psychological healing and physical healing and nutritional healing, which will go through the roof, but I'm not sure about that right now. Yeah. Okay, you were? Oh, yeah.
Here. I'm just curious about the demographics of who's buying is it Dr. Chang?
Yeah.
Who's buying that? Is that a younger audience than the traditional prevention audience, or is it the older audience that's actually going for it now?
The Chang is the only book we have that cuts through all the boundaries. Most of the books that came after Dr. Chang, we have to take selected parts of your list. With Dr. Chang, up until this year, I'm not shere about it because I made one mailing this year, and it was right during those snowstorms, so I don't know what the hell they happened to it. It always cut right through. You got to realize I'm extremely primitive, and you're extremely sophisticated, and we're talking about 2 different corporate cultures facing each other, interacting. I do not do focus groups, demographics, or anything. I just write an ad, take the ad, test it. Every so often, retest something against it, and that's it. But I know that anything you feed me in male health book buyers, non-television paid, and female health book buyers, non-television paid, and prevention prevention plus 1 health book, and the prevention book club. They kind of go out and they come back. Now, you don't pull tremendously well. Your lists don't pull anywhere near as well as health and healing, but they're consistent. And I have never lost money on your list, and because you have such large amounts of names, of course, they give me a great deal of names that I can then rent again. As Pat has said, we duplicate 32% on our list, so we can see the tremendous resemblance between the two firms. The big difference, of course, is that my firm, up until this moment, has had many more men than your percentage men than yours. This will be corrected, I imagine, by the sex thing.
Because when it comes to alternative healing and alternative medicine, it seems to be there's a school of thought people are either on this side or on this side.
Absolutely.
So, you know, determining who is it that's crossed over, whether it's somebody, as you say, that hasn't been helped, hadn't been able to be helped by a physician or doctor, and that they're looking for some way to alleviate the pain.
All right, let me be real wild. Number one, answering your question, then I'll answer the lady in the back's question, but because you gave me a thought for her. You know, you're just selling 2%. You're selling 2 or 3 or 4% of your audience, so you don't care about the vast thing in between. Of course, you'd like to sell 8 or 9%, but you're not going to do it. They seem to cross over very well. If you look at the most successful, one of the most successful, I think the most successful, but I'm not that familiar with that field, so I don't have the figures for my tongue, Self magazine, which is a Condé Nast magazine, which is something you should all look at anyway. It's a magazine which is like a Rodale magazine. It's they have very good alternate healing articles, and they get very good response to those alternate health articles, and they are younger women, much younger women than the women you traditionally reach, the over 50 women. I know them very well, and I know there's no secret that you can get one of their little reports. I don't work for them, I just happen to know them. The lady in the back asked me 5 titles, I gave her 2 titles. Let me give a third one. I don't know whether you can do it, but I'd love to see you do it. I'd love to see you do a book about not seeing your doctor. And we've got a book called How to Stay Out of the Doctor's Office, which is going like mad at this particular moment. We're doing it in a very ugly way. I'm going to revise it to do it in a very more scenic way, so something like you do. People love it. People love it. When I started working for you, there were several trends in your book production. And one of the things I emphasized in my own copy was the doctor thing. This is home remedies either tested by, proven by, or developed by doctors. And I felt that would be extremely powerful because you could use their credibility. And, you know, like this natural healing thing. So powerful that even doctors are using them. That was one of the first times that appeared in your stuff. This is extremely powerful, but is there another group of people? I know your lists pay off very well for me on that, even though my format doesn't match yours. Is there something you might be able to do? I don't know, but it might be something you could, but I don't know how that would relate to your other books. A wild idea. Okay, yes.
Gene, have you ever written for TV?
No. I started out as a radio copywriter and had immense success there in 1948. I then wrote 2 of the great television, mail-order television programs. John Nagy's art book and somebody else's piano book, where we sold hundreds of thousands of copies at $3.95 a month for years. I have not, in 1949, we invented the infomercial by taking the Question Man program, which was on WOR, and adapting it to our piano course, where for 15 minutes, for half an hour, they talked about, should your child, your spastic child, play the piano? Should a child with one arm play a piano? Will pianos mend broken marriages? And then giving the names. And did fantastically well. Then I got into other things, and then in the last period, I I just haven't done television. You see, I can't do it. I mean, I could do it. Give me an assignment and I'll do one for you. And I think I'd be very good at it. I'm very visual. But I just haven't done it for myself because I don't want to deal with the production problems, etc. I have a very good life. And it's strange that I don't want to extend it that much.
You'd mentioned that the buyers of our books that come in through TV don't buy as well for your mailings.
Absolutely not.
And that's the same thing we see, of course. These are people who've ordered the book and paid for the book, either through the mail and through TV. What do you think makes the difference between those audiences?
Are you doing a 30-minute or a 2-minute?
2 minutes.
Okay. Well, it's very simple. I mean, God, it's easy. And Michael Fishman really knows this backward and forward. He's tremendous at this. And I love to talk to him. Think of what the person has committed who buys your book. If I send them this monster or this monster, well, this person really and honestly spends 15 minutes to a half hour with this thing. He really devotes a great deal of time to it. So what he's not doing is just sending you a check for $29. He's sending you 30 minutes, and 60 minutes actually, 30 minutes here and at least 30 minutes with the book. So he is devoting a great deal. When you get a person who has 2 minutes, he is not doing anything like that. You've got him for 2 minutes. He may be hooked on the 2 minutes because your commercials are enormously clever and have marvelous twists on them. I love them. They're record-breaking and they're history-making. But that person is not showing the kind of discipline, if you wish to call it, that the other person is. If you made a 30-minute infomercial and then got those people, I would venture a guess that they would be very good for you. That's what I think the whole difference is. Different type of person, different commitment. The reader, the prospect, the buyer must make a commitment towards your product. And if you have a similar commitment, you'll have a similar type of sale, I think. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I have a question about your 28 successes and how you feel about premiums and why you would choose one and why you wouldn't. Why do you think our audience, why it works for our audience and maybe not other products?
I'm sorry. I missed the first sentence. About 28 what?
About premiums and why you would choose to use one when you start a package, a premium booklet.
I'm sorry. I'm still.
28 successes.
28 successes? No,
27 as that you've written for us.
Oh, I'm sorry. 27 is different than 28. Thank you very much. I like that. Let's make that official. Okay. So I've had 27 successes out of 30, and why I choose what?
To use a premium or not to, and why do you think it works for our audience?
Oh.
At what point do you decide that you think one would be good for the promotion?
I don't choose your premiums. You choose your premiums and then send it to me and I write them. I agree entirely with the fact that every book should be offered with at least one and sometimes two premiums. We offer a lot of books now with two premiums, and then on the diet book now we've got two premiums. People will send for the book to get the premium. It's as simple as that. They will get the book, open it, put it away, take the premium, put the book in the package, and send it back. You want those people to try your book for any reason in the world. The whole reason you send this out is to get the people to try it for any reason you can. People love something free. Your premiums are exceptional. My premiums are very good too. You have a wonderful way of manufacturing premiums, recycling premiums, that is absolutely irresistible. You simply take old book chapters and you put them into a premium. The person is happier when he gets a premium. You never sell in mail order anything once. You always are going to the next sale. You're always playing pool. You're always sinking the ball, and at the same time you're getting your position on the next shot. Somebody who gets the book, gets a good premium, likes both of them, is going to order more than somebody who gets a good book. I choose premiums not very close to the subject the book is. You choose premiums that are quite close to the subject the book is. I don't know which is better. They both seem to work enormously well. Again, you have a problem, which is they sound a lot alike. Youth, yours free, youth pills. Yours free, how to banish wrinkles the natural way. Again, you're getting into premium, you're getting into the problem of premium overload. And it's something you have to take in consideration. You have to monitor your tests very, very closely and your results and your polls and see if the danger, things in mail order drop off, not slowly, but they sometimes plummet. And that's what you got to watch. But I think premiums are, I absolutely am sold on premiums. I wouldn't sell anything without a premium. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay, good. I didn't know I was quite sure.
Okay. Thanks, Gene.
It's a pleasure.
We have a small gift for you for coming here.
Oh my God.
It's
Premium.
It's not it's a premium. It's not a piece of modern art. It's a brass box with the Rodale logo that says Gene Schwartz and Rodale Press, a winning team.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you. Beautiful.